A millionaire gathers 10 women and says that the most beautiful and pure one will marry his heir son. A simple woman with a big heart and a family to support joins the competition, willing to do anything to change her life and her loved ones. If this story caught your interest, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching from. Stay tuned. The June sun cast long shadows across the immaculate lawns of Rothwell Estate, where wealth wasn't just displayed, it was cultivated. Harrison Rothwell stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of his study, watching as 10 limousines approached his mansion. The 70-year-old billionaire straightened his custom-tailored suit, a habit formed through decades of business negotiations where appearance communicated power. Today, however, he was orchestrating something far more personal than any corporate takeover. "They're arriving, sir," announced Jenkins, the family's butler of 30 years, his British accent carrying the formality Harrison had always appreciated. "Perfect timing," Harrison replied, checking his Patek Philippe watch. "Is Nathan ready?" Jenkins cleared his throat. "Master Nathan is reluctant to participate, sir. He's in the West Wing Library." Harrison's jaw tightened. His son's resistance was expected but inconvenient. At 32, Nathan Rothwell had lived a privileged life as heir to the Rothwell fortune, built through Harrison's ruthless expansion of his tech empire. But privilege, Harrison believed, came with responsibility, especially regarding the Rothwell name and legacy. "Tell my son his presence is non-negotiable," Harrison said, turning to face the butler. "The future of our family depends on this." As Jenkins departed, Harrison moved to his desk and opened an ornate wooden box containing 10 golden envelopes, each sealed with the Rothwell crest. Inside each was identical handwritten invitations he'd personally crafted. "You have been selected to participate in the Rothwell Challenge. The woman who demonstrates the purest heart and finest qualities will become my son's bride, securing her place within the Rothwell dynasty and all the privilege it entails. The test begins now." Harrison had spent months researching potential candidates. Some came from influential families, others from modest backgrounds. What mattered wasn't where they began, but who they truly were beneath the surface. Something he'd learned the hard way when his own marriage had ended in betrayal decades ago. Lily Chen stepped out of the limousine, clutching her small suitcase tightly. The Rothwell mansion loomed before her, its grandeur unlike anything she'd ever seen in person. At 26, Lily had grown up in the working-class neighborhoods of Philadelphia, where her mother had raised 3 daughters alone after their father had abandoned them. The mysterious invitation had arrived 3 weeks ago, and despite her suspicions, Lily couldn't ignore the opportunity. Her mother's rheumatoid arthritis had worsened, and her younger sisters were struggling with college tuition. The promise of financial security through what seemed like some bizarre dating show was worth the humiliation. She would endure whatever tests this eccentric billionaire had planned if it meant giving her family a chance. "Miss Chen, welcome to Rothwell Estate," Jenkins greeted her, taking her modest suitcase. "Please follow me." As she entered the marble-floored entrance hall, Lily noticed other women already gathered. They exuded confidence in designer clothes and perfect makeup, making her feel out of place in her department store dress. "Ladies, please proceed to the Grand Salon," Jenkins announced. "Mr. Rothwell will address you shortly." Lily followed the group, observing her competition. A tall blonde in a red dress commanded attention, while a quiet brunette in the corner seemed to be assessing everyone just as Lily was. 9 women, all beautiful, all seemingly more qualified than she was for whatever this challenge entailed. The Grand Salon was opulent, with crystal chandeliers and priceless artwork adorning the walls. As Lily took a seat on one of the velvet sofas, a striking woman with copper hair approached her. "Audrey Blackwood," she introduced herself, extending a manicured hand. "Let me guess, you got that cryptic invitation too and thought, 'What the hell?'" Lily smiled, grateful for the friendly approach. "Lily Chen, and yes, exactly that." Audrey sat beside her. "Look around, we're all thinking the same thing. What kind of antiquated contest is this? But I've researched Harrison Rothwell. The man's worth billions, and his son's supposedly this eligible bachelor who's never settled down. So we're what, potential arranged brides?" Lily asked, discomfort growing. More like contestants on the world's most exclusive reality show, Audrey replied. But don't worry. I've heard rumors about these Rothwell challenges. They're never what they seem on the surface. Before Lily could respond, the salon doors opened. Harrison Rothwell entered, followed by a younger man who could only be his son. Where Harrison was all hard angles and stern authority, Nathan Rothwell had softer features, his expression almost apologetic. As he surveyed the women, "Ladies," Harrison's authoritative voice silenced the room instantly. "Welcome to Rothwell Estate. You've been carefully selected from thousands of potential candidates for what I consider the most important challenge of my life." He paced deliberately before them. "Finding the perfect wife for my son." Murmurs rippled through the group. Nathan shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact with the women. "The rules are simple," Harrison continued. "You will stay at the Estate for the next 30 days. During this time, you will participate in various assessments designed to test your character, your purity of heart, and your worthiness to join the Rothwell family." Harrison gestured toward his son. "Nathan is my only heir. The woman who becomes his wife will someday help oversee a fortune valued at over $4 billion. But more importantly, she will carry forward our family's legacy." Nathan finally spoke, his voice softer than his father's, but with an edge of defiance. "What my father means is that he's orchestrated this competition without consulting me. For that, I apologize." Harrison shot his son a warning glance before addressing the women again. "Your first assessment begins immediately. Each of you will be escorted to your rooms, where you'll find a series of questions. Answer them truthfully. Authenticity is valued above all else in this house." As the women began to rise, Harrison added, "One final note. The Rothwell Challenge rewards honesty and virtue. The purest heart will be recognized regardless of background or beauty." His eyes lingered on Lily for a moment longer than the others. In her assigned room, a suite larger than her entire apartment, Lily found an envelope on the bed. Inside was a series of increasingly personal questions. What is the greatest sacrifice you've ever made for someone else? What do you value more, beauty or integrity? What secrets would you prefer remain hidden from a future husband? She sat at the desk, pen hovering over the paper. The truth was, her mother's medical bills had driven her to take 3 jobs simultaneously, leaving her exhausted but determined. The truth was, she'd turned down a promotion that required relocating because her family needed her. The truth was, she had nothing to hide. Her life had been an open book of struggle and perseverance. But would honesty win this strange competition? As Lily began writing, she noticed a small camera in the corner of the room. Someone was watching. Her responses in real time. In the estate's surveillance room, Harrison Rothwell observed the 10 women. Some wrote quickly, confidently. Others agonized over each word. He focused on Lily's screen, watching as she wrote about her mother's illness and her sister's education. "Her?" Nathan asked, entering the room and nodding toward Lily's monitor. "She doesn't seem like your usual type." "This isn't about my preferences," Harrison replied. "It's about finding someone with genuine character." Nathan studied his father. "And what makes you the authority on character? Your own marriage wasn't exactly a success story." Harrison's expression hardened. "That's precisely why I'm doing this. To protect you from making the same mistakes." Nathan shook his head. "I never asked for this protection, Dad." As father and son watched the monitors, neither noticed the subtle shift in the room's atmosphere as other parties took interest in the proceedings. Audrey Blackwood, from a prominent Boston family, wrote calculated answers she knew would appeal to traditional values. The quiet brunette, Madison Taylor, wrote honest but measured responses, her eyes occasionally darting to the camera. And in another wing of the mansion, someone else was monitoring the situation, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal the truth behind Harrison Rothwell's challenge, a truth that would transform everyone involved, especially the unassuming Lily Chen, who had no idea that her genuine answers were already setting events in motion that would change her life forever. 1 week into the Rothwell challenge, the ornate breakfast room buzzed with tense energy as the remaining 8 contestants gathered. for morning announcements. 2 women had already been dismissed, one for attempting to bribe a staff member for information, another for fabricating a background story that Harrison's investigators quickly disproved. Lily sipped her coffee, still marveling at the luxury surrounding her. The past week had consisted of increasingly strange assessments, charitable donation decisions with fake money, ethical dilemmas with no clear answers, and uncomfortably personal questions about purity and values. Through it all, she'd answered honestly, even when it made her feel vulnerable. "Good morning, ladies," Harrison's voice cut through the chatter as he entered, followed by Jenkins bearing a silver tray with envelopes. "Today marks the beginning of Phase 2 of our challenge." Nathan trailed behind his father, his reluctance visible in every movement. Over the past week, he'd made minimal appearances, clearly distancing himself from his father's scheme. When he did interact with the women, he was polite but reserved, except Lily had noticed during the brief conversation they'd shared in the library 2 days ago. She'd been reading East of Eden when he'd found her, and their discussion about Steinbeck had been the first time she'd seen genuine animation in his expression. "Each of you will receive an envelope containing $5,000 in cash," Harrison announced. "You have 24 hours to decide what to do with it. Consider this a test of character. There are no wrong answers, only revealing ones." Jenkins distributed the envelopes. When Lily opened hers, the stack of $100 bills made her hands tremble. $5,000 could cover her mother's medication for months. "One additional note," Harrison added. "You're free to discuss your decisions with each other, though I caution you to consider who might be truly honest about their intentions." With that cryptic warning, he departed, leaving Nathan lingering in the doorway. For a moment, their eyes met across the room. Nathan gave Lily a barely perceptible nod before following his father out. "Well, this is interesting," Audrey said, sliding into the chair beside Lily. Over the week, they'd developed an unexpected friendship. Despite coming from Boston's elite and exuding confidence most people would find intimidating, Audrey had shown Lily surprising kindness, helping her navigate the unspoken social codes of wealth. "What will you do with yours?" Lily asked. Audrey's green eyes sparkled with mischief. "That's between me and Harrison's surveillance cameras." She lowered her voice. "Speaking of which, have you noticed we're being watched constantly? Even the bathrooms have audio monitoring." Lily had indeed noticed the estate's comprehensive surveillance system. "It's unsettling." "It's calculated," Audrey corrected. "Harrison is testing our every reaction. Question is, what's he really looking for?" Before Lily could respond, Madison Taylor approached their table. The quiet brunette had remained aloof throughout the competition, observing more than participating in. "Group activities, may I join you?" she asked, her soft voice carrying unexpected authority. Once seated, Madison wasted no time with pleasantries. "Have either of you considered that this entire challenge might be testing something entirely different than what Harrison claims?" "What do you mean?" Lily asked. Madison's intelligent eyes assessed them both. "Harrison talks about purity and virtue, but I've been watching him. He flinches whenever anyone mentions his ex-wife. There's trauma there, and I suspect this whole elaborate test is his way of processing it." Audrey leaned forward. "You think we're psychological stand-ins for his marriage issues?" "I think nothing here is as straightforward as it seems," Madison replied, "including your friendship with Lily." The accusation hung in the air. Lily glanced at Audrey, whose expression revealed nothing. "What are you implying?" Lily asked Madison. "Just that alliances form for various reasons in competitions like this," Madison said. "Some genuine, some strategic." She stood gracefully. "Excuse me, I need to make some calls regarding this money." As Madison departed, Lily turned to Audrey. "What did she mean about our friendship?" Audrey's usually confident demeanor faltered. "Ignore her. She's trying to create conflict. It's a classic competition strategy." But something in Audrey's averted gaze left Lily unsettled. Later that afternoon, Lily sat alone in the estate's sprawling gardens, her phone in hand. She'd called her mother, careful not to reveal the true nature of her job interview retreat, but seeking advice nonetheless. "Mom, if someone gave you $5,000 with no strings attached, what would you do?" Her mother's laugh came through the line. Is this a hypothetical, or did you win a contest? Just a scenario they presented, Lily said. I'm curious what you think. After a thoughtful pause, her mother answered, I'd split it 3 ways, some for needs, some for one meaningful want, and some to help someone else. Money that comes as a blessing should extend to others. The simplicity and wisdom of her mother's answer settled something in Lily's mind. That's perfect, Mom. I love you. Love you too, sweetheart. Whatever this interview is, I hope they see what I see in you. As Lily ended the call, she noticed Nathan approaching along the garden path. Unlike previous encounters where she'd felt awkward and out of place, today she remained seated, a quiet confidence in her posture. Mind if I join you? He asked. Lily gestured to the bench. Beside her, Nathan sat, maintaining a respectful distance. I want to apologize for all of this, he said, gesturing vaguely toward the mansion. My father's methods are unorthodox at best, inappropriate at worst. Why don't you stop it? Lily asked directly. Nathan's surprised laugh held no humor. You clearly don't know my father. Once he commits to something, opposition only strengthens his resolve. So, you're just going along with selecting a wife through this bizarre contest? I'm picking my battles, Nathan replied, and watching carefully. He studied her. You're different from the others. Because I don't come from money. Because you don't seem to want anything from us. He hesitated. Everyone wants something. From the Rothwells. Lily considered her $5,000, her mother's medical bills, her sister's education. That's not entirely true, she admitted. I do need money, but not at the cost of who I am. Something in Nathan's expression shifted. That kind of honesty is rare in my world. Maybe you need to expand your world, Lily suggested. Their conversation was interrupted by Jenkins, who approached with his usual formal stride. Miss Chen, Mr. Rothwell requests your presence in his study. Nathan frowned. My father hasn't scheduled individual meetings yet. Nevertheless, sir, Jenkins replied with a pointed look. As Lily followed Jenkins, Nathan called after her, Remember, my father never does anything without multiple motives. Harrison's study, with its dark wood paneling and walls of leather-bound books, felt like entering another century. The billionaire sat behind an imposing desk, observing Lily with calculating eyes. Miss Chen, thank you for coming. Please sit. Once seated, Lily noticed another envelope on the desk between them. You've caught my attention, Harrison said without preamble. Your background checks revealed a young woman of remarkable character. 3 jobs to support your family, perfect. Credit despite financial hardship. Volunteer work despite limited time. Lily remained silent, unsure where this was leading. Harrison pushed the envelope toward her. Inside is a check for $50,000. It's yours, regardless of the competition's outcome. Lily stared at the envelope but didn't reach for it. Why? Your mother's medical treatment, your sister's education. Consider it an advance on your potential future in this family. The offer was everything she needed, presented at the moment of her greatest vulnerability. And what do you want in return, Mr. Rothwell? Harrison's smile didn't reach his eyes. Information. Several contestants have formed alliances. I need to know what Audrey Blackwood has been saying about my son and this competition. Understanding dawned with sickening clarity. This wasn't generosity, it was bribery disguised as kindness. So, to be clear, Lily said carefully, you're offering me money to betray someone's confidence. I'm offering you security for your family in exchange, for information that helps me protect mine. Harrison countered smoothly. Audrey Blackwood comes from a family with a complicated history with the Rothwells. Her presence here concerns me. Lily stood, leaving the envelope untouched. Mr. Rothwell, my mother raised me to believe that character is revealed by what we do when we're desperate. I am desperate, but not that desperate. Harrison's expression remained impassive. Interesting choice, Miss Chen. You may go. As she reached the door, his voice stopped her. One question. What will you do with the $5,000? Without turning, Lily answered, 1/3 for my mother's medication, 1/3 for a security deposit on a better apartment for my family, and 1/3 donated to the Arthritis Research Foundation. She didn't see Harrison's small, satisfied nod as she left. In her room that evening, Lily found Audrey waiting for her. "What did Harrison want?" Audrey asked without greeting. "To test me," Lily replied, carefully watching her friend's reaction. "He offered me money for information about you." Audrey's composure cracked momentarily. "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. But it makes me wonder why he's so interested in you specifically." Audrey paced the room, internal conflict visible in her movements. Finally, she stopped. "My father and Harrison were business partners 20 years ago. Harrison accused him of corporate espionage, ruined his reputation. My father always maintained his innocence. So you entered this competition for what, revenge?" "I entered for answers," Audrey clarified. "But now—" She met Lily's gaze directly. "I came here with an agenda, but I genuinely like you, Lily. You're the only real person in this house of mirrors." Madison's earlier warning echoed in Lily's mind. "Is our friendship part of your strategy too?" The painful pause before Audrey's answer told Lily everything. "It started that way," Audrey admitted. "I thought befriending the obvious underdog would make me look compassionate. But you've turned out to be the strongest competitor here, and somehow I became your actual friend." The honesty hurt, but Lily appreciated it. "So what happens now?" "Now we both have decisions to make," Audrey said, "starting with that $5,000. What will you do with yours?" Before Lily could answer, a commotion in the hallway drew their attention. They opened the door to find several contestants gathered around Madison, who stood with arms crossed, facing an irate Harrison. "You had no right to contact those women," Harrison was saying. Madison's calm voice carried down the corridor. "Actually, I had every right. You gave us $5,000 without restrictions. I chose to use mine to find the women you've subjected to previous versions of this challenge." Gasps and whispers spread among the group. Nathan appeared, confusion evident on his face. "Previous versions? Dad, what is she talking about?" Harrison's expression darkened. "This is a private matter, son." "Not anymore," Madison countered, addressing the group. "Ladies, the Rothwell Challenge isn't new. Harrison has run this same competition 3 times in the past 5 years. None of the winners actually married Nathan. They were paid for their participation and silenced with NDAs." As chaos erupted, Lily caught Nathan's thunderstruck expression. Whatever game his father was playing, Nathan had been as much in the dark as the rest of them. And judging by Harrison's barely controlled fury, Madison had just changed all the rules. The morning after Madison's revelation, the Rothwell estate felt like a different place. 3 more contestants had left voluntarily, unwilling to participate, in what one called a psychologically manipulative circus. The remaining 5, including Lily, Audrey, and Madison, had been summoned to the Grand Salon, where Harrison now stood before them, his composed facade barely masking his irritation. "Ladies, last night's disruption changes nothing about our arrangement," he began, his voice carrying the same authoritative tone, though something had shifted in his demeanor. "The challenge continues, albeit with some clarifications." Nathan entered the room, positioning himself, not beside his father but against the far wall, arms crossed. The tension between them was palpable. "My son and I have had an extensive discussion," Harrison continued, glancing briefly at Nathan. "He has convinced me that transparency is in everyone's best interest. Transparency would have been in our best interest from the beginning," Madison interjected coolly. Harrison's jaw tightened, but he continued. "Yes, there have been previous iterations of this challenge. None resulted in marriage because none of the participants ultimately met our family standards." "How your standards, Dad?" Nathan corrected, speaking for the first time. "Not mine." The quiet rebellion in Nathan's tone wasn't lost on anyone. Lily watched the power dynamic between father and son shift visibly. Nathan was no longer a passive participant in his father's scheme. Harrison pressed on. "The core premise remains unchanged. This is a test of character, of worthiness to join a family where integrity matters above all else." His piercing gaze swept the room. "Those of you who remain have already demonstrated considerable fortitude. The final phase begins now." Jenkins entered, distributing black velvet boxes to each woman. Inside, Lily's was a stunning diamond bracelet, easily worth more than she earned in a year. "These are gifts," Harrison explained. "No strings attached. You may keep them regardless of the competition's outcome." Lily closed her box without taking out the bracelet, noticing Audrey doing the same while another contestant immediately fastened hers around her wrist. "You're also each receiving this," Harrison continued, as Jenkins handed out sealed envelopes. "Inside is information about one of your fellow contestants, information they may prefer to keep private. How you use this information is entirely up to you." The room fell silent as understanding dawned. He was deliberately creating conflict, encouraging them to use secrets against each other. Lily glanced at her envelope, then at Nathan, whose expression had darkened considerably. "This wasn't part of our agreement," Nathan said sharply. Harrison merely smiled. "Life rarely follows expected paths, son. These women should understand that reality before entering our world." As the tension thickened, Madison stood. "I'd like to propose an alternative," she said, her quiet voice commanding attention. She held up her envelope. "What if we choose not to participate in this particular assessment? That would certainly reveal something about your character," Harrison replied. "I believe it would," Madison agreed. Without another word, she walked to the ornate fireplace and dropped her unopened envelope into the flames. One by one, 3 other women followed her lead. When Lily's turn came, she hesitated, the weight of potential knowledge about Audrey, for she suspected that's whose secrets she held, heavy in her hands. With a deep breath, she approached the fire and released the envelope. Audrey was the last to decide. She held her envelope longer, visibly struggling with the choice. Finally, she joined them at the fireplace. Though Lily noted, she seemed to glance at the name on the envelope before consigning it to the flames. Harrison observed the rebellion with an unreadable expression. "Interesting. Perhaps you're developing alliances rather than competing as individuals. Or perhaps we're demonstrating the very integrity you claim to value," Madison countered. Harrison's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Jenkins will escort you to the East Wing sitting room. You'll find refreshments and a series of questionnaires there. Nathan and I need to confer privately." As the women filed out, Lily caught Nathan's eye. He gave her a subtle nod of what appeared to be respect, or perhaps gratitude. "You realize what just happened, don't you?" Audrey whispered as they walked down the corridor. "We just passed his test by failing it." Lily considered this. "I'm not sure he knows what he's testing anymore." Madison, walking ahead of them, slowed to join their conversation. "He's testing himself as much as us. Every choice we make forces him to confront his own values." "And Nathan?" Lily asked. "Is finally seeing his father clearly," Madison replied. "That's why I forced the issue last night. This was never about finding Nathan a wife. It's about Harrison trying to prove something to himself." When they reached the sitting room, they found an elegant tea service waiting, along with leather portfolios containing pages of questions more personal than any previous assessment. As they settled into their task, Lily found herself distracted by thoughts of the dynamics between Harrison and Nathan, a relationship clearly defined by Harrison's controlling nature and Nathan's growing resistance. An hour into their questionnaires, Nathan himself entered the room. The other women immediately straightened, adopting more formal postures, but Lily remained as she was, curled comfortably in a window seat with her portfolio. "Ladies, I'd like to speak with each of you privately," Nathan announced. "Miss Taylor, would you join me in the library first?" As Madison followed Nathan out, Audrey slid into the window seat beside Lily. "Your strategy is working brilliantly," she murmured. "I don't have a strategy," Lily replied honestly. Audrey laughed softly. "That's exactly why it's working. While everyone else is calculating their every move, you're just you." She studied Lily with genuine curiosity. "Don't you want any of this? The wealth, the status, the security?" Lily gazed out at the manicured gardens stretching to the horizon. "Of course I want security, especially for my family. But all this?" She gestured to their opulent surroundings. It comes with golden handcuffs. Most people would gladly wear them, Audrey pointed out. Would you? Lily asked directly. Before Audrey could answer, Jenkins appeared to summon her for her interview with Nathan. Lily was left alone with her thoughts and the increasingly uncomfortable awareness that, despite her determination to remain authentic, part of her had begun to imagine what life with Nathan might actually be like. An hour later, Jenkins finally called for Lily. Following him through the mansion's labyrinthine corridors, she found herself not in the library, but in a bright solarium filled with tropical plants. Nathan stood as she entered, looking more at ease than she'd seen him throughout the competition. "I thought we could use a change of scenery," he explained. "The library feels too formal." As Lily settled into a rattan chair across from him, she noticed they were completely alone. No Jenkins, no visible surveillance cameras. "Is your father watching?" she asked directly. Nathan shook his head. "Not this time. I disabled the surveillance in this room." He leaned forward, intensity in his expression. "Lily, I need to apologize to you specifically. You're here under false pretenses, and you've been subjected to my father's psychological games despite having genuine needs that brought you here." His awareness of her situation surprised her. "You know about my mother?" "I've read all the dossiers my father compiled," Nathan admitted, "including yours. 3 jobs to support your family, sacrificing your own education to pay for your sister's. Your mother's medical condition." Lily felt suddenly exposed. "So everything. I've shared thinking it was part of the challenge you already knew." "Not everything," Nathan clarified quickly. "The facts, yes, but not you. Not how you'd respond to all this." He gestured to their surroundings. "Not how you'd maintain your integrity when offered money, or refuse to use others' secrets against them." Lily studied him carefully. "And have I passed your tests?" "There are no more tests," Nathan said firmly. "At least not from me. I'm done with my father's games." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that made him seem suddenly more human, less the polished air. "I need your help, actually." "My help?" Lily couldn't hide her surprise. "You and the others, Madison, Audrey, you've shown more character in 2 weeks than most people I've known my entire life." His expression grew earnest. "My father is using this challenge to work through his own demons, not to find me a wife. He's been controlling me my entire life, and I've allowed it because it was easier than fighting him." "What changed?" Lily asked softly. Nathan met her eyes directly. "You did. All of you. Watching how you've stood your ground against him made me realize I've been a coward in my own life." He leaned closer. "I want to end this charade, but I need allies." Lily felt the weight of his request. "What exactly are you asking us to do?" "To finish the challenge, but on our terms, not his. To show him that his manipulations don't work." "And what about the competition itself? Someone is still supposed to win you, aren't they?" Lily couldn't keep the edge from her voice. Nathan's expression softened. "Lily, there's no real competition anymore. There never was. My father never intended for me to actually marry anyone. This is about him working through his trust issues from his failed marriage." "Then why are we still here?" Lily asked. "Because walking away accomplishes nothing, but staying and refusing to play by his rules?" A smile touched Nathan's lips. That might finally force him to confront his own demons. Before Lily could respond, the solarium door opened and Harrison himself entered, his expression thunderous. "Interesting venue for your interviews, son," he said coldly. "Especially after intentionally disabling my security systems." Nathan stood, squaring his shoulders. "We're done with surveillance, Dad. These women deserve basic privacy and respect." Harrison's laugh held no humor. "Privacy? They signed contracts waiving that right when they agreed to participate." "Contracts that didn't disclose the true nature of this challenge," Nathan countered. "Contracts that might not hold up under legal scrutiny." The threat hung in the air between them. Lily rose slowly, feeling caught in a familial power struggle. "Decades in the making." "Mr. Rothwell," she said, addressing Harrison directly, "whatever issues exist between you and your son shouldn't involve us." Harrison's penetrating gaze shifted to her. "My dear, They involve you precisely because you and the others have become proxies in this battle. Nathan has never defied me so openly before your arrival." "Then perhaps that change was overdue," Lily suggested quietly. Harrison studied her with new interest. "You speak your mind despite having the most to lose. Remarkable." He turned back to his son. "Your interviews are concluded for today. We'll continue the assessments tomorrow." "No, we won't," Nathan said firmly. "We're changing the terms, Dad. From now on, any interaction with the remaining contestants will be transparent and respectful. No more mind games." For a moment, father and son stared at each other, neither willing to yield. Finally, Harrison nodded curtly. "Very well, a new approach." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Miss Chen, regardless of what my son has told you, this challenge will conclude with a selection. I expect to announce my decision at the gala 3 days from now." After he left, Nathan exhaled slowly. He's not giving up. "Did you expect him to?" Lily asked. "No," Nathan admitted, "but now he knows we're not playing by his rules anymore." He held her gaze. "Thank you for standing with me." "I haven't agreed to anything yet," Lily reminded him. Nathan's smile was genuine. "You didn't have to say it. You've been standing your ground since you arrived." He hesitated. "Will you help me convince the others? Madison and Audrey respect you." Lily considered the strange alliance forming between contestants who should have been competitors. "I'll talk to them, but I can't promise anything." As they left the solarium together, Nathan whispered, "For what it's worth, if this were a real competition for my hand, you'd have won weeks ago." The unexpected admission left Lily speechless as they rejoined the others, the dynamics of the challenge shifting irreversibly around them. Harrison's games had indeed revealed true character, just not in the way he had intended. That evening, Lily gathered with Madison and Audrey in her suite, the 3 women forming an unlikely alliance in the midst of what had begun as a competition. "Nathan wants us to finish the challenge, but on our own terms," Lily explained, recounting her conversation with him. "He believes walking away accomplishes nothing, but staying and refusing to play by Harrison's rules might force him to confront his own issues." Madison nodded thoughtfully. "He's right. Harrison Rothwell isn't a man who learns from people walking. So way he's encountered that his entire life. He only learns when someone outsmarts him at his own game." "And how exactly do we do that?" Audrey asked, pacing the room. "The gala is in 3 days, and Harrison still thinks he's crowning a winner." "Then let's give him one," Madison suggested, her calm demeanor belying the boldness of her proposal. "But not the one he expects." Lily studied Madison with growing curiosity. Throughout the competition, she'd remained the most enigmatic contestant, observant, strategic, yet somehow detached from the prize itself. "You've never been here for Nathan or the Rothwell fortune, have you?" Lily asked directly. Small smile played at Madison's lips. "I came to understand Harrison Rothwell, to see firsthand how he manipulates people under the guise of testing their character." She hesitated before adding, "My mother was one of his previous challenges years ago. The experience destroyed her confidence, her trust in people. I wanted to know what kind of man would toy with women's lives and call it a test of virtue." The revelation stunned both Lily and Audrey. "Does Harrison know who you are?" Audrey asked. "No," Madison replied. "My mother married shortly after the competition and changed her name. I've been careful to cover my tracks." Her expression hardened. "But I've learned everything I needed to know. Harrison Rothwell is exactly the manipulative person I suspected, and now we have a chance to beat him at his own game." "How?" Lily pressed. Madison leaned forward, her voice dropping to a near whisper, despite their confidence that Lily's room wasn't bugged. "We present a united front. At the gala, when Harrison announces his choice, we redefine the terms of victory." As Madison outlined her plan, Lily felt a mixture of trepidation and admiration. It was bold, potentially risky for her personally, but it might be the only way to truly end Harrison's manipulative challenges once and for all. "Nathan needs to be fully on board," Lily cautioned. "Then convince him," Madison replied simply. "He listens to you in a way he doesn't to anyone else. Later, as Audrey and Madison departed, Audrey lingered in the doorway. "For what it's worth," she said softly, "I think Nathan's assessment of you is spot on. You would have won this thing. Fair and square, because you never saw it as a competition in the first place." Left alone, Lily stood by her window gazing at the moonlit gardens of Rothwell Estate. 3 days from now, everything would change, for Harrison, for Nathan, and especially for her. She only hoped they were making the right choice in seeing this through to the end. The night of the Rothwell Gala arrived with all the grandeur Harrison's fortune could command. The mansion's ballroom, rarely used according to Jenkins, had been transformed into a scene from another era. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light over marble floors, while an orchestra played from a raised platform. Local dignitaries, business associates and members of Harrison's elite social circle filled the space, creating a powerful audience for the culmination of his challenge. Lily stood before the mirror in her suite, barely recognizing herself in the midnight blue gown Harrison had provided for each remaining contestant. The silk material draped elegantly over her frame, making her look like she belonged in this world of wealth and privilege. Yet inside, she remained the same woman who had arrived 3 weeks ago with a second-hand suitcase and desperate hope for her family's future. A knock at her door revealed Nathan, handsome in his tailored tuxedo, but visibly tense. "You look stunning," he said, his admiration genuine. "Thank you." Lily smoothed her dress nervously. "Is everything in place?" Nathan nodded. "Madison and Audrey are ready. My father suspects nothing. He's too busy showcasing his grand social experiment to his peers." Bitterness edged his voice. "Are you sure you want to go through with this? There's still time to walk away." Lily considered the question seriously. Their plan carried risks, especially for her. Yet backing out now would leave Harrison free to continue his manipulative games with other women in the future. "I'm sure," she said finally. "Your father needs to understand that people aren't pawns in his psychological chess match." Nathan took her hand, his touch gentle but grounding. "Whatever happens tonight, I want you to know that meeting you has changed everything for me. For the first time in my life, I'm standing up to my father, because you showed me what real courage looks like." The sincerity in his voice made Lily's heart race. In another context, another life, she might have allowed herself to imagine a future with this man who was far more than his family's legacy suggested. But tonight wasn't about personal feelings. It was about ending a cycle of manipulation. "We should join the others," she said softly, reluctantly withdrawing her hand from his. As they made their way to the ballroom, Lily's mind returned to their careful preparations. Madison's plan was elegant in its simplicity, turning Harrison's own game back on him by redefining what winning truly meant. It required perfect timing and, more importantly, unity among the contestants who had once been competitors. The ballroom fell into a hush as Lily entered alongside Nathan. She spotted Audrey and Madison already circulating among guests, playing their parts perfectly. Harrison stood near the central platform, commanding attention effortlessly in a custom tuxedo that probably cost more than Lily's entire apartment building. "Nathan," Harrison called, beckoning his son, "bring Miss Chen and join me." As they approached, Harrison's smile appeared genuinely pleased. "You've caused quite a stir tonight," he told Lily quietly. "Several of my associates have already inquired about the beautiful woman in blue." "I'm not here to impress your associates, Mr. Rothwell," Lily replied evenly. Harrison laughed. "No, I suppose you're not. That's precisely what makes you so intriguing." He turned to address the gathering. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention." The room quieted as Harrison took the center of the platform, the perfect picture of patriarchal authority. "Many of you have heard rumors about the Rothwell Challenge," he began, his voice projecting easily across the ballroom. "Tonight those rumors will be confirmed. For the past 3 weeks, I have hosted a selection process to find a woman worthy of joining the Rothwell family, someone with the character, grace, and integrity to stand beside my son Nathan as he eventually takes his place as head of our dynasty." Polite murmurs rippled through the crowd. Nathan's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. We began with 10 exceptional women, Harrison continued. Through a series of assessments designed to reveal true character, we narrowed the field to our 3 finalists. He gestured toward Lily, Audrey and Madison, who had positioned themselves at different points around the room as planned. Each has demonstrated remarkable qualities, Harrison said. Madison Taylor, brilliant, strategic, with an analytical mind that rivals my own. He nodded toward Madison, who maintained perfect composure despite knowing what was to come. Audrey Blackwood, from one of Boston's finest families, with poise, social sophistication, and surprising depth. Audrey raised her champagne glass, slightly in acknowledgement, her expression revealing nothing. And Lily Chen, Harrison's voice softened almost imperceptibly. A young woman whose quiet strength and uncompromising integrity have consistently impressed us all. The collective attention of the room shifted to Lily, who stood straighter under the scrutiny. Tonight, Harrison announced, I will name the Tatum woman who has proven herself most worthy, the woman who will receive not only Nathan's hand, but my personal endorsement as the future of the Rothwell legacy. This was the moment they had prepared for. Lily caught Madison's eye across the room, receiving a subtle nod. Before you announce your decision, Mr. Rothwell, Lily called out, her voice stronger than she felt, there's something your guests should know about this challenge. A startled hush fell over the ballroom. Harrison's expression flickered between surprise and irritation at the interruption of his carefully orchestrated moment. The Rothwell challenge isn't about finding Nathan a wife, Lily continued, moving toward the platform. It's about Harrison, Rothwell trying to prove something to himself, that his methods for judging character are infallible, despite his own painful experiences. Audrey stepped forward from another corner of the room. This isn't the first Rothwell challenge. There have been at least 3 others, none resulting in actual marriages. Madison completed their triangular approach to the platform. Each time, Harrison has used these women as test subjects in his psychological experiments, all stemming from his inability to trust after his own marriage failed. Harrison's face darkened with fury. That's quite enough. No, it isn't, Nathan interrupted, joining the women. For years I've allowed my father to control every aspect of my life, including whom I might marry. I agreed to this challenge because it was easier than fighting him. But these women have shown me what real courage looks like. The guests watched in stunned silence as the carefully constructed facade of the evening crumbled. Harrison looked from his son to the 3 women who had outmaneuvered him. What exactly do you hope to accomplish with this display? He demanded, his voice low and dangerous. Transparency, Madison replied calmly. Something you've never valued. You claim to test character, Audrey added, but you've never put your own character to the same scrutiny. Lily stepped directly in front of Harrison. We're not refusing your final decision, Mr. Rothwell. We're redefining what winning means. Nathan moved to stand beside her. The real challenge, Dad, was never about finding me a wife. It was about whether you could learn to see women as people rather than threats or prizes. Harrison's composure faltered as he realized the extent of their coordination. You've all conspired against me. We've united against manipulation, Lily corrected. There's a difference. Harrison's gaze hardened as he surveyed the 4 people challenging his authority. For a tense moment, Lily feared he might erupt in anger or humiliate them publicly. Instead, something unexpected happened. Harrison Rothwell began to laugh. It started small, almost inaudible, then grew until it filled the ballroom. Not mocking laughter, but the genuine sound of a man who had just recognized the absurdity of his own creation. Well played, he said finally, addressing all of them. Particularly you, Miss Chen. I underestimated your influence on the others. It wasn't influence, Lily replied. It was respect, something you might consider practicing more often. Harrison studied her with new eyes. You truly don't care about the money, do you? About what being chosen would mean for your family's security? The question struck at the heart of Lily's deepest conflict throughout the competition. Her family's needs remained real, pressing. Yet something more important had emerged, her own self-respect and the respect of people she'd come to care about. I care about my family, she answered honestly, but I won't sacrifice who I am, even for them. That's what this challenge has taught me. Harrison turned to address his guests, seamlessly shifting into the role of gracious host despite the disruption. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems I've received a valuable lesson tonight. Perhaps the true winner of the Rothwell Challenge is myself. The crowd's nervous laughter released some of the tension in the room. Nathan, Harrison continued, it appears you've found your voice at last. And perhaps, his gaze shifted meaningfully toward Lily, something else as well. As the orchestra resumed playing and the guests cautiously returned to their conversations, Harrison beckoned the four conspirators to follow him to a private alcove off the main ballroom. I could destroy all of you for this public humiliation, he said without preamble, his voice eerily calm. But you won't, Madison replied with equal composure. No, Harrison agreed after a moment. I won't, because underneath this embarrassment I find myself impressed. He looked at each of them in turn. You turned my own methods against me. Few have ever managed that. It wasn't about beating you, Nathan said. It was about ending this cycle. Harrison nodded slowly. Perhaps it's time. He turned to Lily. You never answered my question directly. What about your mother's medical treatments? Your sister's education? Lily met his gaze without flinching. I'll find another way, I always have. Something shifted in Harrison's expression. Respect, perhaps, or recognition. What if there were a way for you to maintain your integrity and still help your family? I'm not interested in more tests or conditions, Lily said firmly. Not a test, Harrison clarified. A legitimate job offer. Rothwell Industries Charitable Foundation needs leadership. Someone with both compassion and uncompromising ethics. The position comes with a substantial salary and excellent medical benefits. The unexpected proposal left Lily momentarily speechless. Dad, Nathan began cautiously, is this another manipulation? Harrison shook his head. For once, no. Miss Chen has demonstrated exactly the qualities the foundation needs. He turned back to Lily. Consider it at least. The offer remains regardless of any personal developments between you and my son. With that cryptic comment, Harrison rejoined his guests, leaving the four of them to process what had just occurred. Did Harrison Rothwell just change? Audrey asked incredulously. Madison smiled slightly. People don't change fundamental character overnight, but they can recognize when they've been outplayed, and Harrison respects strategic thinking above almost everything. Nathan turned to Lily, taking her hands in his. The foundation position is legitimate, and you'd be perfect for it. But I want you to know that my feelings for you exist completely separate from anything my father offered. Lily felt herself at a crossroads. The job would solve her family's financial concerns. But Nathan's words suggested possibilities she'd scarcely allowed herself to consider. I think, she said slowly, that some things require time. Your father's challenge tried to compress compatibility and character assessment into 3 artificial weeks. Real relationships, professional or personal, need space to develop naturally. Nathan's smile was worth every moment of uncertainty she'd endured. I like the sound of naturally, he said softly. 6 months later, Lily stood in the Rothwell Foundation's downtown offices, reviewing proposals for their newest healthcare initiative. The foundation position had indeed been legitimate, and under her leadership, its impact had expanded dramatically. Her mother's treatments were progressing well, her sisters were thriving in school without financial pressures, and Lily herself had discovered talents for leadership and advocacy she'd never had the opportunity to develop before. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. Dinner tonight? I have news about Madison's non-profit proposal. Lily smiled. Their relationship had evolved gradually, built on mutual respect rather than the artificial constraints of a competition. Harrison, surprisingly, had kept his distance from their developing connection, though Lily occasionally caught him watching them with what appeared to be genuine approval. Madison and Audrey had remained in their lives too. Madison had launched a non-profit focused on supporting women from disadvantaged backgrounds. while Audrey had become an unexpected ally in navigating the social complexities of the world Lily was still learning to inhabit. As she texted Nathan back, Lily reflected on the strange journey that had brought her here. She had entered the Rothwell mansion desperate and uncertain, willing to compromise parts of herself for her family's security. She had emerged with something far more valuable, the unshakable knowledge of her own worth. Harrison Rothwell's challenge had indeed revealed true character, just not in the way he had originally intended. The real test had never been about purity or beauty or any external quality. It had been about staying true to oneself in the face of temptation, manipulation, and fear. And in that challenge, everyone involved had ultimately found something valuable, especially Harrison himself, who had been forced to confront the wounds that had driven him to test others so relentlessly. As Lily gathered her things to meet Nathan, she paused at her office window, gazing at the city stretching before her. The path ahead wasn't perfectly clear, but she faced it with confidence, knowing that whatever tests life presented next, she would meet them with the same unwavering integrity that had brought her here. The real challenge, she had learned, wasn't proving yourself to others. It was remaining true to yourself when the world offered every incentive to compromise. And that was a challenge worth accepting every single day. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey through the Rothwell Challenge. If Lily's story of integrity and courage resonated with you, we've prepared a special playlist with equally captivating narratives that explore the complexities of character and choice. Find it by clicking to your left. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this tale of authentic love triumphing over manipulation and wealth. Every day, we bring you unique stories that delve into the depths of human connection and personal growth.